Why don't you start with just like taking me through like like day in the life of Mark and what you're doing at Framework and Sound and how you came into this role.
Yeah, sure. So I have been with Framework and Sound since 2014. The company started in 2013, so I thought I was the new guy when I came in, but in the grand scheme of things, when you roll it out, I guess I've been here for the majority of the time. Sorry, the window's open. Can you hear me fine?
You're good, man. You're good. Yeah.
All right, cool. Um, Day to day, basically, we've had Sound Nightclub. We just opened the Spotlight, and Framework has been pretty much on a very, very fast pace of growth right now. So a lot of that has been focusing on what's next. And sorry, man, I'm getting distracted. This said reconnecting. Um, yeah, most of my day is focusing on just general day-to-day bookings. We have a team underneath us now. I have a partner. His name's Ace. He works with me, but for probably 8 years it was just me. Normally, what that is identifying trends, figuring out where to place artists, and most of it just comes from inside my head and the heads of the company. What we like, what we listen to, and what we think will work and stick is kind of where we start. If we're big fans of the music or big fans of the artist and they caught our attention, then we kind of identify that artist first, and we then figure out like, is this a sound play? Is this 1,000? Is this 2,000? Is this 10,000? Going from there, we kind of identify dates and then we build out an entire show. So most of my time really is just identifying musical trends and music that we love and figuring out how to make a blend of my personal favorite artists with also servicing the market of what we feel is missing in Los Angeles, what we feel other promoters aren't doing, what we feel the crowd wants to see and the fans want to see. Um, and then starting with an offer and building a show from the ground up.
Oh, yeah. What do you have like a like sort of a formula you use when you're assessing an artist? I mean, is it the music they're producing, the buzz they have about them, their live performance? Like what kind of goes into that decision making process?
For us over at Framework, I can't speak for other promoters. I know a lot of people try to use metrics, and like as well as I do, there have been a million companies in the last 10 years, especially with the tech boom, to try and like put an intangible industry tangible, right? Like all of these back end websites that want to show streams, they want to show followers, they want to show all of these metrics that make like the perfect artist to sell tickets. And what we've really found is while that stuff kind of helps, like just as easy as it was to be tracked, it was just as easy to be faked. Um, or, you can notice that these artists might have huge metrics, but the world is a big place and you don't know where those metrics are coming from. So honestly, it's a really intangible process. It's kind of just an it factor. It's something you can't really put down on paper, but like my go-tos are like, I've built a community of people that are around me, that the people that I see are going out to the shows or my personal friends or people that I might look up to as mentors of mine that have been doing this since long before me. And like usually you kind of start recognizing trends when you're out and about or just having conversations with people, and people keep mentioning this artist over and over and over again. And it's wild because a lot of those artists end up being the ones that don't have the big stream factors, they don't have the big followers. They're the industry buzz artists that everyone is excited about because they saw them open at a show at Ushuaia, or like they had like a month-long residency while they were in Mykonos or something. Like these random little hotspots of culture that people go and really enjoy themselves and be like, wow. Even like I've had some of the biggest artists in the industry or biggest talent managers in the industry be like, hey, I found this artist because I was at a house party and I loved what they were playing. And it's wild to hear that because from the outside looking in, you really never know how those artists are identified. But like at the end of the day, we're all people and we're in this because we want good music, we want to have fun. So a lot of those industry heads, like, they identify these big artists because they just had a good time.
Yep. That's great. Yeah, so no specific formula, kind of like the word of mouth, maybe what you're listening to on your Spotify playlist, kind of doing some investigating from there. Maybe, yeah, you're out and about seeing people. What about from
Yep.
like the local kind of like up and coming talent perspective? Like when you're thinking about who to put on to support a show, kind of what do you look for there? Because that's a totally different game, right? From the headlining international touring artist perspective.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, that's the best place to start, right? Because I feel like that's the even playing field. Once you get out of that local market, like nothing becomes even anymore, right? Like everybody use whatever competitive advantage that they have, but just competing in your own little pool for, those first looks and those right looks of opening gigs and opening slots, like that is when you are most powerful, because when it comes down to it, like it's about, honestly, it's about everything and nothing at the same time, right? Like you don't have to be the most technically advanced DJ. You don't have, like, what people really want to see is they want to see good music. Like you want to be a really good producer first and foremost. The first thing that catches my attention is putting out really good tracks. Um, Being capable of DJing. I said before, you don't have to be the most technical DJ. I don't want that to be misconstrued. You need to know how to DJ, and there are a million DJs that have tried to get gigs and even sometimes successfully gotten gigs from clubs around town, even at our club, that like maybe they stepped into the pool a little bit too quickly. Like maybe they should have practiced their mixing and transitions, because I'll tell you one thing, if you rush into that too fast and you kind of lie about your credentials, you're not going to get booked again. Like if you're out there train wrecking or if you can't mix, like it's going to be a problem and it's going to come back, because you are responsible for setting the vibe of the entire night. And if the night starts in a bad place, it's going to continue in a bad place. And that's all people are going to be talking about. So work on your music. People really want producers. Anyone can be a DJ, right? And literally anybody. But if you can have some sort of creative outlet to put some tracks out there, I think that that's a really good place to start. You should also really like be personable, be friendly. Everyone thinks that you need to be out at every single party networking and getting crazy. That's not true. It is true and not true. Like that's a good way to meet people, but like at the end of the day, your personality is going to show through. And if like you're a good person that's really elevating the community over here and like adding some joy to the party, that's what's going to get you booked.
That's great advice. It's great advice. I guess the question would be like, how do you assess? So if somebody's putting out really good music, maybe they're a producer first. How do you know they're going to be a good DJ? Because obviously the opening that huge role, right, to warm up and get the vibe going. But how do you know they're proven on the decks?
So that's the thing. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people are falling into right now. There are great bedroom producers that really don't know how to DJ and have not taken the time to really learn how. They've kind of just thought, oh, I'll be able to do this and I'll figure it out as we go. There's no really tried and true factor for me to figure that out. And we've been in those situations enough where like we will ask people, especially if we can't find any mixes online, any shows that they played prior, like if this truly is someone that I am booking for the very first time, I will upfront ask them and just say, hey, you need to send me a mix or you need to send me some sort of live thing. And I've gotten hit back with like Spotify playlists being like, this is what I'm going to play. And like, that's kind of like, that's a bit of a red flag. But I think, at least on our end, like open transparency is the best way possible. And we literally tell them like, yo, we're asking for this because we're not trying to vet you because we don't want you. We're trying to vet you to make sure that you're ready, because you kind of have one shot at this.
Yep. Yep.
So
It's like Eminem 8 Mile, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Um, cool. Since we're up against time, let's get into those like do's and don'ts, right? So
Yeah.
I also want to close my fucking window. Okay, so what are some of the do's and don'ts of the music industry?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we could go on endlessly with that one, but we'll kind of tap on the top ones. Like, I think what every promoter and what every manager and what every agent would universally agree on is like, don't be a hater, right? It's so easy, especially at the ground level, to be so salty about other people's successes, right? Like, nobody wants to see that. I hear this time and time again, and this is not original for me. Like, I see every artist talk about this too, especially when they become successful and they even reflect back on their own advice and just say, hey, keep your head forward. Like your time will come as long as you work hard. Like it is universally true. Don't be a hater, because people notice that online. Nobody wants to book a keyboard warrior. I don't care how good your music is and how good your production and DJing is. Like hating on other people in the scene just because you feel like they're not fitting into the box you feel that they should be fit into, it's just not cool. So that's definitely like our number one don't. We don't like supporting that stuff, even if they are an amazing musician. But we will reach out. We'll tell them like, yo, stop hating. Like we want to book you too, but don't trash everybody else. That's not going to get you a gig in the club because you're mad that you think that like other people shouldn't be there, right? Everybody's on their own path.
Yep.
Um, Dues is kind of what we were going into, like what we look for, right? Like, do try and produce music, do try and learn and do it the hard way, right? Like, don't take shortcuts. There's so many people in this industry that use ghost producers or whatever. Like, take that money and invest in production school, invest in DJ school. Like, if this truly is something that you want to do, you're going to do it because you love it. Don't take the shortcut, right? Because it stands out. It might take you a longer road, but like at the end of the day, the people that are truly masters of their craft, they're the ones that are going to get ahead. So all I can say is just be very genuine and be very like direct with your intentions and don't lie to yourself. You know, maybe sometimes it's easier to get there a different way, but learn and know what you're doing because it will show through.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any of these other questions stick out for you that you want to hit home on?
Yeah, man. Hold on one sec. Let me look at this.
And obviously, I'll
So,
frame it up by asking first, but or anything that's not here that you think would be important for up and coming producer DJs to know.
let's see. Branding. Let's talk about branding.
Yeah, let's
I,
talk
s-
about branding.
let's talk about branding. I think branding is super important for artists. I think it's great. This has always been something I had a little stint in management, or not a little stint. I worked for a management company before I was a talent buyer here. And I feel like in the dance music community, I'm going to put a caveat on this. I feel like in the dance music community for the last, 8 or so years, management styles were trying to catch up with how fast dance music was booming. And I think at the very beginning, there were tons of artists that were just getting records out and putting out singles and playing shows and never really putting together tours and just fucking, I'm in London, I'm in LA, I'm here, I'm off for 3 months. I play 10 shows in a row, I'm off for 3 months, right? And I think in the last couple of years, it's gotten way better. Like these artists really are respected and treated like true musicians, right? So artists are now going up with branded tours, album cycles. They're not just dropping records on SoundCloud. This is like the greatest possible thing that can happen to our industry right now on electronic music, like across the board. Getting some sort of structure back in there because there's a reason why superstars, pop stars, rock stars, there's a reason why this worked. And to me, that is from top to bottom branding, right? Like have a specific look per cycle, like have a specific logo that you roll with. Don't force it down promoters' throats, but like have your branding, like make your social media look good. Don't be obsessed over it because it's not the number one thing. But like when you're putting out your music, have a rhyme and a reason to it. Don't do it sporadically. Like give yourself some sort of imagery per cycle so people can differentiate and be like, this is the freshman album, this is the sophomore album, this is the EPs between the album, these are the EPs between the albums, right? Like make moments, and that's how you're really going to start building your career and building momentum and building fans, because then fans can look back and be like, oh dude, remember Kanye's graduation album? Oh yeah, that stuff was so cool, right? Like all his artist collabs, like making it almost anime style. And then you go back even further to that. Like I hate to use Kanye because he's such a polarizing person, but he has gone through eras, right? Just all these artists have gone through eras. So I think
Great.
thinking about your branding is super important from the very beginning, because I also think that that's one thing that differentiates local DJs from actual musicians. So if you treat yourself as a local DJ with this branding, but you're not like you're not a psycho about it. Like don't make people hate you because you're jamming it down their throats, but just like move with intent from the very beginning, and you won't feel like that local DJ that's playing in LA every Friday. You'll feel like an artist that's building a discography.
Yeah, that's great. And I think putting in the perspective of albums too is really important because so many producers or artists aren't going for albums. And when
Yeah.
we have an album out, we're like, holy shit, like I the Kanye, the big three, the Dave Matthews big three. Like I mean that's my upbringing for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, would you compare like an Instagram profile to almost like a digital resume at this point? Like is that what's your first stop online when you hear of somebody you want to find out more?
Honestly, at this point, yeah, right now it's Instagram. I hate to admit that. I don't have TikTok. I know it's TikTok for the younger generation. Like, I'll tell you one thing, like agencies, they send TikTok stuff more than Instagram stuff at this point. Um, I just, I'm just not on the platform. But usually my first place to look will be kind of just Instagram, just to get a feel, right? Like you want to connect with a human. So usually you go to Instagram because back in the day it was like your Facebook music profile. No one even uses those anymore. I feel like Instagram's the next in line because TikTok for me, it's a lot more like viral content, whereas I feel like Instagram is the place to go and kind of get a feel for the person as a human being. And then the second, or not second stop, I'll go at the same time. Usually I'll pull up two tabs, Instagram and Spotify. And if they don't have a Spotify, I'll do Instagram and SoundCloud, and I'll listen to whatever music that they have out while looking at them as like a human being. And I'll start there just to even, get an inkling of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. Let me just check out my homie. Okay, cool. Anything else from this list super stand out? I mean, I'd obviously love to get to know more of you behind the scenes, but maybe that would be for a later time, or maybe you can talk about like who you like absolutely stoked on right now. Like who's got either breakout potential, who's broken out already. Like talk about like some of your favorite artists in the scene right now and why they're some of your favorite artists.
Um, yeah. Let's do one more, and then listen. If you chop that up and you want more, then we can definitely jump back on. I'll talk
Yeah.
about like, man, I don't even know how to put this into words. I was going to talk about like one of my favorite upcoming artists right now is Ben Sterling. We just hosted him at Coachella. We got to do a lot with him at Coachella. We've actually had him at the club several times, and it's always been a pleasure. But it really took Coachella to get his entire team out, and really like hang with the whole crew, have him play our after parties, have him play Yuma. And man, I'm in love with this guy. Like he's got it all. He's got like the it personality, that rock star personality, but it's not like in your face. Like you almost got to crack him a little bit, right? Like he seems seemingly shy, but the minute you start talking to him in like a safe space, he totally opens up and like, oh man, and he'll talk to you for hours. Like he'll just talk and talk and talk. He acts like he's got nowhere to be. Like he will put his full attention on you. I just think that that's so cool. Jumps on stage, super humble, and then we had him at like 2 o'clock at the Yuma, and we had that thing at capacity both weekends, no fluke. Like people were there to see it, and I was so happy. He brought his mom and dad weekend too,
Hell
and
yeah.
it was awesome. It was really awesome. Someone like that, like I can't even really describe to you. I mean, I just did, but like from everything, from his track selection to like who he is as a person to like his DJing style, and then also like mix that with the music that he's putting out. Like man, on top for me right now, and the feeling is across the board at our whole company. Like we're chomping at the bit to keep booking him.
Yeah, he's oh my God. I saw him. I was in Miami Music Week, I think it was 2 years ago, and it was at Factory Town, and I think he was playing either the Repopulate stage or he's playing some like minimal tech stage that was going off, and I'd never heard of him. I'm over there, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He was throwing down
Yeah,
in the best kind of way that like Doug got into my soul, and I was dancing. Yeah, I love
yeah,
that choice, man. He's great,
yeah,
and I'm glad to see him doing so well as an artist.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate it, man. I know you're
Yeah,
super
my pleasure.
busy. This is not, your normal resume item here. So
Mm.
appreciate you. I'll let you know if we want to go for round two. But like I said, I just appreciate this to begin with. So
Cool, man. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
yeah, man. And I
All
know
right.
I know the artists and I know the guys and girls who see this are gonna really appreciate it too. So thank you so much. I'll send you what I put together for approval first.
Sick, man. Have fun in Mexico City. Have fun in Italy, and I will look out for it.
Yeah, when's fatherhood start for you?
August 30th.